Hi everyone, Renee here. I've got another sunscreen video for you. The last one I did were my favorite all-mineral physical sunscreen picks for those of you who may be uncomfortable with or just can't do chemical UV filters. This video I'm sharing with you my favorite sunscreens that are all-inclusive filter-wise. As you guys may know, my past favorite sunscreen picks have always been heavily dominated by European and Asian sunscreens. These are just really elegant formulas that I want to use all the time, but they also have more advanced filters, which are designed to just be more stable, stronger, more powerful, and less sensitizing to the skin, or potentially less problematic. They also tend to put a heavier focus on UVA filters than the US does. And for someone who is concerned with hyperpigmentation, as I am, that's a big deal. But also there's just so much more technology that's happening in this category that's really exciting to me. Some of my new favorites are just next generation. If you're interested in discovering more about the different sunscreen filters and what differentiates them and what their functionalities are, then I've included a glossary on my blog of all the ones that we most commonly see. I will link that here and down below. I'm going to start with two brands that I've discovered to be absolutely outstanding to me. These are next generation sunscreens. EV Technology Sunscreen Mousse. I tried this for the first time almost exactly a year ago, about this time last year, and I have been absolutely obsessed since. To me, these check off all the boxes of everything I would love to have in a sunscreen, but including the wishful thinking ones as well. Eevee is a Swedish brand that is dedicated to sunscreens, and they use patented medical skincare technology in all their formulas. They offer an SPF of 10, 20, I got the 30 and 50. There's also a children's range, and I believe the difference between the children's sunscreens and the regular sunscreens is it doesn't include collagen, so that's great for you vegans out there because those are vegan formulas. There's so many things about this just really excite me. As you can see, this comes in a mousse format, and the way you apply it is that you spread it on your hands first before you apply it on the skin, on your face, or your body. So they have a special technology in their sunscreens which is patented, which allows the mousse to spread through to the topmost layer of the skin. It won't get into your bloodstream, but it will penetrate and work through the topmost layer of your skin, rather than just sit on top of the surface layer, which is what most traditional sunscreens do. Because of this, the sunscreen is just more long-lasting and stable throughout the day. It's not affected by the outside environment at all. And what's really great is it won't wear down through the day. You could swim, you can sweat, you can towel off, and you will not be removing the sunscreen protection, which means you don't have to reapply unless it's for your own peace of mind. This is used by athletes, by swimmers, it's water resistant, and the protection will not diminish for about 6 hours. It goes on clear for me, it absorbs really fast, but it's also formulated for even the most sensitive of skin types. So even if you have like sun-induced eczema, this can be used on children from 6 months as well as pregnant women. And I absolutely love that you can use this around the eyes and on the lips as well. This could also be great for acne. It's an anti-inflammatory formulation, but also it does not clog the pores like a lot of traditional sunscreens because it doesn't sit on top of your skin in this layer. There are also antioxidants, vitamin C and E, there's silk proteins, there's collagen, a lot of sort of barrier strengthening ingredients as well. These formulas contain zero fragrance, zero alcohol, no oils, no nanoparticles, and no preservatives. These are contained in airtight aerosol cans, and you go by actually the date on the bottom. There's a date by which they suggest you should stop using it by, and it's not by the date you actually start using it. The SPF 30 has a 97% UVA protection, and the SPF 50 is a 98% protection. So it's interesting because the way the sunscreen works, you can actually use it before moisturizer in your skincare routine. So for me, it would be after my serum or after my hydrator, and then I would apply this and then moisturizer on top of it after waiting a little bit. But I've also used it over moisturizer as well. It doesn't sit on top of your moisturizer, which is strange. And what's really interesting is I've actually applied this over my makeup. It actually is recommended for some makeup artists to put on top of the makeup. So what I do is I spread it on my hands and I just kind of pat it over my skin. It just instantly sinks in. And it also leaves things looking kind of velvety. So if you have any shiny bits, this is as good as any powder. It doesn't disrupt the makeup. It doesn't look like you have a mask on top of your skin. It literally just kind of goes through the makeup and just goes straight to your skin. It's really bizarre. Ultrasun Professional Protection is a discovery I made earlier this year when I was last minute shopping at Heathrow Airport. I cannot get enough of this sunscreen. I have been repurchasing and picking up new ones since then. This is a Swiss brand. This and the Evie are two of my favorite sunscreen discoveries. So these sunscreen have their own special encapsulation technology, which allows the sunscreen, just like the Evie, to penetrate through the topmost layers of our skin rather than just sit on top of it. Again, these filters are not capable of entering our bloodstream. What they do is they just stay throughout the topmost layers of our skin. These formulas do not contain fragrance, mineral oils, PEGs, PPGs, silicones, octinoxate, octocrylene, and preservatives. These are in airtight, airless containers with airtight pumps. The way they dispense is sort of moussey and also a little aerosol-y as well. The formula comes out almost like a mousse, and then it turns into just a really lightweight lotion. So this has a combination of powerful organic or chemical filters, and it also has titanium dioxide in it. The titanium is in nanoparticles, which is not something that I personally am concerned about, but because of the titanium, there is going to be a slight, or there could be a slight castiness to it. On me, I have no issue. It doesn't show up on me. This may show up if you have a darker skin tone. I also love the way these formulas feel, which is slightly moisturizing, and when you apply it, it doesn't leave you with a greasy, heavy, or shiny finish. It actually leaves you with a velvet finish on your skin. It just feels really comfortable on my skin. I mean, this also contains grapeseed oil and squalane, which are two great sort of drier, more balancing oils. This is also an antioxidant-rich formula with vitamin C and E, CoQ10, just more benefits for the skin, but it also has some special ingredients to combat the effects of infrared heat. Again, I've used this before moisturizer, and it works really well that way. In fact, on the particularly hot summer days, I actually don't really need moisturizer. Over this, all these formulas can be used on all skin types, including sensitive skin. There are two SPF 50s for face with over 95% UVA absorbance. This one has a particular focus on anti-pigmentation, whereas this one is also anti-pigmentation, but it's also anti-pollution and brightening as well. And also this one is a very sort of milky fluid texture. All of these are really fast absorbing for me. I feel like you apply it and it just kind of sinks in. There's very little downtime. You're not really waiting around for it to dry before you can apply a layer over it. So, I mean, I really love that about these. Anessa makes the list again. Surprise, surprise. I'm the biggest fan of their sunscreens. In fact, they're some of my all-time favorites. These two are new. They came out last year, so of course I jumped on them. Both of them are mild milk versions, which means that neither of them contain fragrances or alcohol. And I think that's become a big thing for me in the last couple of years, is that I can no longer tolerate the very high alcohol sunscreens the way I used to. A lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm using and experimenting more with actives. The original mild milk versions were featured in my sunscreens video 2 years ago. I believe that these have replaced them. With these two, texturally, the alcohol is just not missed at all. They are probably two of the most cosmetically elegant sunscreens that I use today. And that's taking into consideration that these contain a mixture of physical and organic filters. So this has zinc and titanium dioxide as well as the chemical filters. The Essence UV Mild Milk has an SPF of 35 and a PA of 3+. This is absolutely perfect for everyday use or during the wintertime, anytime you have a more limited sun exposure. This is completely weightless, it's invisible. It is such a beautiful primer under makeup. It actually makes your makeup stay on better all day. Like all of Anessa's sunscreens, this has a very special wet force technology. When activated with water or sweat, the protection kicks in and becomes stronger. The Perfect UV Mild Milk has an SPF of 50 with a PA of 4+. So this is stronger. This is for more intense sun exposure. This comes out just maybe a little more creamy than the Essence. However, it spreads out and applies exactly the same way. Just turns into this weightless nothingness. but then at the same time, your skin just gets smoothed out, looks smoother, fantastic under makeup, really long lasting. It's water resistant, it's sweat resistant. Honestly, it just wouldn't feel right without including one of these sunscreens in my favorites reviews. So this sunscreen is a little different. This is Galderma's Actinica Lotion. So Galderma is the same company that produces Differin. It's a pharmaceutical company. It's not a cosmetic company. What makes this different is this is a lotion developed for actinic keratosis, a form of skin cancer. So this is specifically for those who have had or are particularly prone and susceptible to that form of skin cancer. So while in the US, sunscreens are classified as drugs, which is one of the reasons why it takes so long to get new filters approved, in the EU, sunscreens are not classified as drugs. This lotion has actually undergone drug testing. This is alcohol-free, fragrance-free, and oil-free. Other than the filters, there really isn't much by way of skincare, but what this does really well, which is to protect and shield your skin from the sun, especially if you are at high risk. This is a pharmaceutical product made in France, and yes, it contains some parabens as preservatives. I personally have no concerns with that whatsoever, but for those of you who do, what I really like about this is the texture, which is just beautiful. It's so easy to wear and apply and use. It actually dries down incredibly fast, and it's very silky. It just glides on your skin. It's completely invisible, and yeah, no, I really like this. Of course, I'm not going to forget two of my favorite sunscreens. Let's first talk about the Klairs Soft Airy UV Essence. I've talked about this so many times before. It was also in my holiday box of wishes for Wish Trend. I mean, I can't speak highly enough of this. This has one of my favorite textures in pretty much anything that is creamy. It's got that super hydrating sort of gel cream or creamy gel sort of texture. This is sort of one of those sunscreens that just makes my skin look really good. The finish is not matte, but it's also not dewy or greasy. It just leaves your skin with a nice sort of plump, hydrated look. This has an SPF of 50 plus and a PA of 4 pluses. This has two powerful and very stable sunscreen filters, Uvinol A plus and Uvinol T150. I've gotten questions about whether these two are enough. It absolutely is. These two cover the full broad spectrum of UV. So I've seen comments saying that Uvinol A plus filters only UVA2 rays. That is not true at all. It filters mainly UVA1 rays. In fact, even its manufacturer markets it as a UVA1 filter. Uvinol T150 is a very powerful and strong UVB filter. This beautiful formula also contains niacinamide, vitamin B5, beta-glucan, sea buckthorn oil, which is highly antioxidant and soothing. You know, and for those of you who are concerned, this also contains a really small amount of sweet orange oil, which is not a phototoxic essential oil. But yeah, I am a huge fan of this. Purito's Centella Green Level Unscented Sun, SPF of 50 with PA4 pluses. To me, this is so similar to the Klairs. These two sunscreens just make me so happy. I would say the main difference is if the Klairs gives a nice sort of hydrated, bouncy finish, this one gives a more velvet finish. So I'd say this one is actually better for normal to oilier skin types. They have the same filters, except for this formula is very focused on all the different Centella asiatica extracts and derivatives, madecassoside, very, very soothing. And this formula has 0 essential oils in it. I've actually been enjoying this so much this summer. I think for the really high exposure days, I do like to use the more intense sunscreen formulas, but for everyday use, I've been loving this. I mean, sunscreens like these two are just an absolute joy. So two sunscreens, which I really appreciate mainly for the way they apply and the way they work, are Supergoop's Unseen Sunscreen with an SPF of 40 and Freezyderm's Sunscreen Velvet Face, SPF of 50 and PA4 pluses. Both of these have the same really unique gel texture to them. Supergoop is from the US and Freezyderm is not available in the US. It also has some additional stable UVA protection. The UVA protection of this is stronger. Unseen sunscreen is great for all skin types. It definitely has that sort of mattifying finish, which makeup sits over really well. The Freezy Derm, on the other hand, is definitely better for normal to oily skin. It has some oil or sebum absorption for 6 hours. This keeps everything nice and balanced, even if you're running around all day. But also, I would say the texture of this is maybe just a little thinner and more elegant than the Unseen sunscreen. This is completely colorless, invisible. It really spreads. It spreads so smoothly. It basically is a smoothing primer. And it is breathable despite the fact that it does sit over your skin. There's no fragrance or alcohol in either of these products. Altruist sunscreen has an SPF of 50 and a PA of 4 pluses. Again, this is the kind of texture that I love in products. It reminds me sort of the Claire's, but maybe it's just a teeny bit richer. This actually does feel richer than most other sunscreens when you apply it. It's moisturizing, really pleasant to use, dermatologist developed, safe for even the most sensitive skin, alcohol-free, fragrance-free. Like the other Euro sunscreens we've talked about today, you know, hardcore, packed with filters. This has both the organic and physical filters. This contains titanium dioxide, nano and non-nano particles, but also this has one of the newest and most advanced sunscreen filters, Tinosorb A2B. This is a broad spectrum filter that's very stable, very powerful, and also covers the range between UVA and UVB, which is commonly known as UVA2. Again, when you apply this, at first it looks like there's a little bit of a cast, but that completely just blends away. On me, I have no issue with it, although again, I can't speak for someone with a darker skin tone, but this does appear to be really, really blendable. On the days where I feel like this may just be a little too heavy, I replace my moisturizer with this. It does feel just a little heavier than some of the other sunscreens that we've been talking about, but it is also really hydrating. Dr. Sam Bunting's Flawless Daily Sunscreen, SPF of 50 and PA of 4 pluses. This really carried me through the last winter. I've spoken volumes about it already. It just has that beautiful, lush texture, which is kind of almost a signature in my mind in Dr. Sam's Flawless collection. The textures are just so rich and luxurious given the very simple formulas. This reminds me a lot formulation-wise of the Elta MD Clear or the Elta MD sunscreens, although I like this better just because, again, it's the luxury in the texture and application of it that I truly, truly enjoy. It has 11.8% zinc oxide, 7% octinoxate. There's also a significant 5% niacinamide. This came in so handy and comes in extremely handy during the sort of retinoid experimentation phase that I really continue to go through. It keeps everything intact, moisturized, and calmed and soothed. No alcohol, no fragrance. This actually doesn't leave a white cast on me. This uses nano zinc particles, and I think a lot of it has to do with the way I actually apply these kinds of sunscreens. If you watch my last skincare routine, you'll see that I actually apply sunscreens in 2 thin layers, especially if there could be an opportunity for a cast. La Roche-Posay's Anthelios Anti-Shine Gel Cream has an SPF of 50 plus and a PA of 4 pluses. This is another one of those no joking around sunscreens. This will give intense protection and is a mixture of physical and organic filters, mainly organic filters though, including the beautiful Meroxyl from L'Oreal. This contains both Meroxyl XL and Meroxyl XS, and as the mineral filter, it has titanium dioxide, so there may be a little bit of a cast on this. When I first apply it, it definitely looks like there will be, but on me it does actually sort of blend in completely. I can't speak for anyone with darker skin tones, but this does seem pretty blendable. This is a thicker formula. This also dries down super fast and finishes with a dry touch. This is free of alcohol, fragrance, any kind of essential oils. This is also great for sensitive skin types. You guys know from my last haul that I recently stocked up on the Shaka fluid. The Shaka fluid is not, unfortunately, something that I'm using a lot right now because of its really high alcohol content. It does tend to make my skin sting a bit and turn red. There was a time when using this was the most beautiful thing because cosmetically it is so thin, it's so elegant, it literally just, disappears. Although this one is not quite as lightweight as the Shaka fluid, I still feel like it has a beautiful end effect. So in the US, La Roche-Posay's and Thelia's collection, I would say the Clear Skin is one of my favorites. This is great for those of you who have really oily skin, or if you're going through a period or a place where your skin is just always shiny and greasy. This uses all organic filters that are allowed in the US, and it's one of the few sunscreens in the collection that doesn't contain octinoxate or oxybenzone, so if that is just something you would rather avoid. But yeah, no, this is a great one if you have oily skin. This has an SPF of 60 with PA4 pluses, and it's also water resistant up to 80 minutes. This is completely oil-free, and also it doesn't contain any alcohol or fragrance. Actually, the consistency of this, the way it wears, reminds me of this one. These two are really, really similar. So I think that's it. I mean, there are so many more I can review. I have 2 years worth of different sunscreens that I have been using. So these are the ones that have just really stood out to me over the last 2 years through different cycles that my skin might be going through, different phases, different climates. These are the ones that I repurchase and I keep reaching for. Since I've been introducing more actives into my routine, my sun care game has just gotten so much more serious and more hardcore, but simultaneously also gentler, which is, a great thing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'm wishing you great skin health. Bye!